And Fred, tell me about your service.
I was in the Army for 20 years, and I served in Desert Storm and in Panama, and I've been on every continent in the U.S. but Africa. I mean, every continent in the world. So, but I wouldn't have traded. If I could sign up and go back today, I would. But I just loved it, and it's a great experience. But war is war, and you never know. So a lot of good guys got left behind, and we just thank all the veterans from World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Those guys deserve a lot more respect than what they're given. But like I said, I spent my 20 years in. I loved it. And I'd go back and do it again in a heartbeat. Today's Army, it's a whole different ball game from what all the other guys had went through. And I just got to say is, you know, God bless them, and I hope they all get back home safely. And we just love it. I just love the military. Anything about the military, whatever branch you were in, if you served, I thank you today too. So, but like I said, we a little different now from what it was. But the guys that I have a nephew that just retired out of the military, out of the Marine Corps. I have a brother-in-law that served in Vietnam that died. I have a real good friend that just turned sergeant in the Marine Corps. So you just got to thank everybody. And everybody waits till one day today to thank a veteran, but you should do it every day. If you see him, thank him, because that's why you're walking and doing the things you are today, because of what we have done for this country. And I just love it. I love being an American. I love being, we're in Missouri. Mid-Missouri's finest place you can live in the country as far as I'm concerned. But I have seen bad things. I have done bad things. But I just recently told my two children what I really did during the war, and they're in their 30s. So some things, some veterans will talk about, some won't. But that's just their own opinion. And I have mine and they have theirs. But I said, my experiences was combat engineer for 15 years and then a sniper for 5. So there's a lot of things out there that, you know, if you decide to go to the military that you can do, all I could say is go for it. I mean, you get a lot of respect, you get a lot of places, chances to go to places that you would never go while you're going, you know, just staying home at a job. I would suggest that you get in, get what you want out of it, then you can get out. Like I said, oldest granddaughter here, she just loves being around it. Well, I got 5 other granddaughters and 1 grandson, and they all just love, oh, Papa, let's watch an Army movie or whatever, you know. And got a great wife. She won't get on camera because she's chicken, but you know, and the things that you guys come to see people like me, I just appreciate it so much. And I know other veterans would do the same thing. But it's not only veterans, what you do for the news, keep us up with the weather, and whatever needs to be, you know, us being told. I just think you guys do a great, great, great job. So I want to thank you today. You know, like I said, the experiences is something that you'll never forget. You get to meet people who become your own family, being in the military. And they're just, you got his back and he's got yours. And that's happened to me several times in my career. So, you know, today the leaders in Washington, D.C. need to learn, hey, let these military guys go now. The only war we're fighting now is terrorism. And that's one thing that's hard to get rid of. You never know where they're at, where they're going to strike. It could be anywhere, at any time. Let the old military take care of it. Let them loose. They could do the job.
As someone who served in Desert Storm, what goes through your mind as you watch news reports of, over time, the war in Iraq and then subsequently ISIS, and now it appears President Obama on Friday is sending more troops back to Iraq?
Well, when I was in Desert Storm, we were, tasked to do several different things. And, now, Saddam is gone, and now we come into this terrorism like ISIS and the Taliban. And like I said, President Obama is finally understanding that we need to put our foot down on these guys before they come over here and put their foot down on us. And, end up like the trade centers, which was an awful deal. But, we need to stop it because it's in our country now. We just got to find them and get them out, and then go after them in their homeland and put a stop to it.
Tell me a little bit about your service in Panama and Desert Storm.
Panama, when President Noriega was doing his dictatorship, and they held some American captives, college students. So we were tasked to go down there and get them out. So we met light resistance at first, and then we got into their inner circle, and in fact, that's where I got my wounds from. There was out of a helicopter dropping down off of a rope in between two rocks and breaking my leg, but still carried on. But the Panama, it wasn't a very long thing. We went in, got them, and got out. So it was a short-term deal, but we did our jobs and we did them well. We lost some people, but we got them home. And that's what the main thing is, getting everybody home safely and in one piece. So the same way at Desert Storm, but it was on a larger scale, and the Iraqis never knew what really hit them till it was too late for them. And the military geniuses was behind that. So and now they're bringing everybody out, but we're sending people back to get rid of this ISIS, get rid of the Taliban, get rid of all of them. We don't need them. They don't need to be here. They don't need to be there. Because what they do to people is pretty atrocious. And everybody can see on TV what they have done to British citizens, American citizens. Needs to be put to a stop. And they can do it. President Obama will just let them do it. So that's my opinion on that.
And now, during Desert Storm, of course, invasion of Kuwait, August 2nd, 1990, what was your timeline? When did you arrive in KTO?
Oh, I was there about 6 months before that. We were sent there to explore, and as a combat engineer, we were to take out their obstacles that we knew the tanks and other vehicles would run into. So we were tasked to know where they were at, prepare them to be blown up or airstrikes called in. We were there to lead them in and everything. So we were there about 6 months before everything really started.
6 months before SHIELD became Storm, or 6 months before Saddam invaded Kuwait?
Yeah, no, it was 6 months after he invaded Kuwait, we went. And we started exploring to see how he was setting up his defenses and what it would take to take those out and row on through. So we, tanks, landmines, their machine gun nest and everything. We were to task to know where they were at and get them in place to blow for the main force to come through. So we did our jobs.
During those missions, did you run into any surprises, things you weren't expecting?
No, not really. It was they didn't even know we were there. They were that not well trained. They were there, and like I said, in just a few days of the ground war, most of them were giving up. They were hungry, they were water, and I know me and 5 of my buddies had 50 surrender to us just to get food and water. And they come out, hands up, with their weapons in there, drop their weapons, and they wanted food and water. And you could tell they was not very organized. And as you got into the night wars where the Air Force was doing their job, you had to know where you were at, and you had to know where they were at, because you didn't want to get nowhere near them, because they were going to get it really good. The shock and all. And it was like you seen it on TV during the war. You ought to have been there to see that. That's the biggest fireworks show I ever seen in my life. So it was pretty good.
So about when did you come home from the Gulf then?
I come home in just the first part of '92, because I got out of the service as soon as I got done with that deployment. I'd done my 20. I'd had a couple of injuries that slowed me down. So, the Army and I decided that was a good time to go. So, like I said, I got home in early '92, and I was out probably about 6 months later. But I enjoyed it.
What did you take away from your military experience that you were able to apply to your civilian life?
My wife would probably tell you a lot of different things, and my children would too. The discipline that you learn in the military could be applied to anything. And no matter what work, what job title you got, if you have discipline and you learn to respect what you work with, who you work for, and why you do it, that the military just helped me for everything. They give you the knowledge, they give you the know-how on how to react to different situations. And that's what it's really all about. So, military's the thing. I love it, and I'd go back in a heartbeat if they'd let me go today. But you learn a lot of things. You get to see a lot of places, different cultures, and you take that home with you and say, if you can tell your friends or your family, you ought to see how these people live. If you think you got it bad, you wait till you see some of them. You would say, God, I'm glad I do live in America. So that was one of the biggest things that I really noticed. But the experiences just stay with you all your life. You could take the man out of the Army, but you can't take the Army out of the man. And that's my biggest saying. So she knows it, my kids know it, the grandkids know it. They know what I expect out of them. And then they get what they expect out of me. So I just enjoy it. And like I said, military life is just the greatest. Sometimes it's a little dangerous, but that's what you got a buddy for. And that's why I enjoyed it. Made a lot of friends, lost a lot of friends, but that's war. And that's what we have to do today. And that I'm sure that's happening right now. So I just love it. I love being an American. I love being in the military. I'm not ashamed of what I did at all. I don't regret it. I'd do it again. and wouldn't think nothing about it.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I just want to say to everybody that put out there today, that wished every veteran, you don't have to always do it on Veterans Day. You see a veteran out there in the street any day, Monday through Sunday, day or night. You see him, you thank him. He's the one who got you where you're at. And I know I personally would like to thank everybody that was on Facebook. We were in town today, several places. You know, and you got something like the uniform on here, they stop, come up, shake your hand. Thank you. Thank you for your service. And I appreciate that. And I'm sure every other veteran does too. So, just thank you. And that's about what I got to say.